There are moments in life when another person's pain unexpectedly forces us to reflect on our own path, not because their suffering is magically connected to us, but because witnessing someone reach a breaking point can reveal how easily unresolved emotions, jealousy, loneliness, and desperation can slowly consume a human being. Stories like this are not really about supernatural forces or hidden destinies. They are about people, their wounds, their choices, and the dangerous ways pain can distort the heart when left untreated for too long. The woman lying in that hospital room was not born cruel. She was not born bitter, dangerous, or consumed by darkness. Like most people, she once had ordinary dreams. She laughed freely. She trusted easily. She imagined a future where life would reward her efforts and heal her disappointments with time. But life does not always move gently. Sometimes losses arrive one after another before a person has fully recovered from the last one. A relationship falls apart, financial stress builds, friendships fade, confidence weakens, and slowly, if pain remains unresolved long enough, people can begin seeing the world through the lens of comparison instead of hope. That is where her downfall truly began. At some point, she started looking at your life not with admiration, but with resentment. She saw qualities in you she felt she had lost in herself. Your resilience frustrated her because she no longer recognized resilience within her own reflection. Your ability to keep moving forward during difficult times made her feel emotionally stuck by comparison. Instead of asking how she could heal her own pain, she quietly became consumed by the question many wounded people ask in silence. Why does someone else seem able to carry light while I feel swallowed by darkness? That question, left unchecked, can become dangerous. Jealousy rarely appears suddenly as hatred. More often, it begins as wounded comparison. A person looks at someone else's joy, confidence, relationships, opportunities, or emotional strength, and interprets it as proof of their own lack. Over time, resentment grows because focusing on another person's life becomes easier than confronting one's own pain honestly. And when someone remains emotionally isolated inside that resentment long enough, they may start searching for ways to regain a sense of control. The woman in this story became obsessed with the idea that your happiness somehow represented her suffering. She convinced herself that if your light dimmed, her own pain might finally ease. Of course, emotional wounds do not work that way. Another person's peace cannot heal someone else's emptiness, but hurt people sometimes make irrational choices while searching desperately for relief from emotions they no longer know how to carry. Eventually, her pain led her toward unhealthy beliefs and dangerous thinking. Instead of turning toward healing, support, therapy, faith, or honest self-reflection, she became drawn toward secrecy and imagined control. She started believing there were hidden forces, rituals, or symbolic acts that could somehow shift her circumstances or influence another person's life. These beliefs gave her temporary emotional comfort because they created the illusion that she still had power over situations where she actually felt helpless. In reality, what she was really fighting was herself. The room she sat in that night was not haunted by supernatural forces. It was haunted by unresolved grief, emotional isolation, and obsession. The candlelight, the symbolic objects, the whispered words, all of it reflected her desperate need to feel control over emotions she no longer understood. Human beings throughout history have often turned toward rituals, magical thinking, or superstition during periods of extreme emotional distress because certainty feels comforting when life feels unbearable. She collected things connected to you not because they held mystical power, but because obsession had distorted her thinking. The scarf, the photograph, your name, written repeatedly, these objects became emotional anchors for her fixation. They represented the person she blamed for feelings she had never properly processed inside herself. Each item intensified her emotional attachment to the resentment she had been feeding for months. But obsession has consequences. The more she isolated herself inside those thoughts, the further she drifted from reality and emotional balance. Her sleep suffered, anxiety grew stronger, fear mixed with anger, paranoia began shaping her thinking. Eventually, the emotional pressure became too much for her mind and body to carry safely. What happened in that room was not the arrival of some dark supernatural force. It was the collapse of someone already emotionally overwhelmed, physically exhausted, and psychologically consumed by unresolved pain. When the mirror cracked, when the room felt suffocating, when panic overtook her body, those experiences likely reflected a severe emotional and psychological breakdown. Stress can affect the human body powerfully. Panic attacks can create sensations of pressure, breathlessness, dizziness, trembling, and intense fear that feel almost unreal in the moment. Someone already trapped in obsessive thinking may interpret ordinary physical reactions as supernatural signs, which only deepens their fear further. By the time she was found and taken to the hospital, her condition had become serious. Whether through physical collapse, emotional trauma, or medical complications triggered by extreme stress, her body finally gave out under the weight of everything she had been carrying internally. Now she lies in a hospital room, surrounded by machines, doctors, and silence. Not because of curses or destiny, but because emotional suffering left untreated eventually consumes people from the inside out. And this is where her story truly connects to yours. Not because you caused her suffering, not because you were spiritually tied to her pain, but because her downfall reveals something deeply important about human nature and emotional responsibility. People often believe jealousy is harmless if left unspoken. They believe resentment stays contained inside private thoughts. But emotions that are constantly fed, bitterness, obsession, comparison, anger, eventually begin reshaping the person carrying them. Her story is a warning about what happens when pain turns inward for too long without healing. At the same time, it is also a reminder for you. You cannot control how others interpret your growth, your happiness, or your resilience. Sometimes your strength will inspire people. Other times it may unintentionally trigger unresolved wounds in those who are struggling silently. That is not your fault. It does not mean you should shrink yourself, hide your progress, or feel guilty for continuing forward with your life. What matters is remaining compassionate without carrying responsibility for another person's emotional choices. There is another important truth here too. Many people who hurt others are deeply hurting themselves first. That does not excuse harmful behavior, manipulation, or obsession. Boundaries remain necessary. Accountability still matters, but understanding the roots of destructive behavior can help us respond with wisdom instead of fear. The woman in the ICU is not a symbol of evil. She is a tragic example of what can happen when loneliness, envy, and emotional instability are allowed to grow unchecked. Her suffering also reminds us how essential healing truly is. Emotional pain ignored for too long does not simply disappear, it transforms, sometimes into bitterness, sometimes into unhealthy attachment, sometimes into self-destruction. Human beings need connection, honesty, support, and emotional grounding to survive difficult seasons without losing themselves completely. And perhaps the deepest lesson hidden in this story is this: comparison is one of the fastest ways to destroy inner peace. The moment someone begins measuring their worth entirely against another person's life, they stop nurturing their own healing. They stop asking how to grow. Instead, they become consumed by what they think they lack. That mindset slowly poisons joy, perspective, and emotional balance until even ordinary relationships become distorted through resentment. You were never responsible for her collapse. Her choices belong to her. But witnessing someone lose themselves this way naturally changes how you see human pain. It reminds you that people carry invisible battles quietly. It reminds you how important emotional healing, self-awareness, and healthy support systems truly are. And it reminds you that unresolved suffering left in darkness rarely stays harmless forever. Now, as doctors continue working to stabilize her condition, the real battle is no longer mystical or hidden. It is human. It is the fight between destruction and healing, between denial and accountability, between remaining trapped in bitterness or finally confronting the wounds that created it. And perhaps that is the part of her story most connected to yours after all, the reminder that every person eventually faces a choice between becoming consumed by pain or learning how to heal from it honestly. Her heart pounded so loudly she thought it would burst. She thought she'd called something to bend to her will, something to carry out her plan. But what came wasn't hers to command. It was awake, and it was furious, not because of her words, but because of who she aimed them at. You, my child, your name, your spirit, your light, they weren't hers to touch. She didn't know it, but your name is guarded, wrapped in a protection stronger than any force she could summon. The moment she lifted your picture, the air turned cold, sharp, like a blade against her skin. The presence she called didn't move toward you. It stopped, it turned, it looked at her, and in that moment, she knew she'd made a terrible mistake. A truth echoed in the silence, not in her voice, but in the stillness. Touch not my chosen, and do my servants no harm. That truth stood like a wall, solid, unbreakable, towering over her. The force she called couldn't reach you, it couldn't touch you, but it could touch her. The shadows in the room grew darker, not from the lack of light, but from something alive, something watching. They moved, curling like smoke, reaching for her with fingers she couldn't see. She dropped your scarf, your picture, your name. They fell to the floor, untouched, as if the darkness knew they were off limits, as if they were surrounded by a light it couldn't cross. She stumbled back, her breath shallow, her heart racing. She tried to speak, to undo the words, to send it all back, but the air swallowed her voice, and the presence didn't listen. It didn't speak, didn't need to. It looked at her, and in that look, she saw everything, her jealousy, her bitterness, her choices, laid bare like an open wound. She saw the moments she'd chosen pain over healing, pride over humility, darkness over light. She saw herself, not as she wanted to be, but as she was, a woman who'd let her heart turn cold, who'd let her pain turn into poison. And it broke her, my child, in a way she couldn't explain, in a way that left her trembling in the dark. Then, as quickly as it came, it was gone. The room was still, the candle stayed dark, the mirror stayed cracked, the air was quiet again, but it wasn't peaceful. It was heavy, like a warning, like a promise of something yet to come. She stood there, trembling, telling herself it was over, that she'd failed, that she was safe. She tried to convince herself it was just a moment, just a mistake, just a fleeting lapse in judgment. But, my child, nothing escapes untouched. What she called didn't leave empty-handed. It left something behind, not in the room, but in her. A mark, a weight, a seed of something she couldn't name. It wasn't visible, not yet. It wasn't something she could touch, or see, or point to, and say, this is what's wrong. But it was there, buried deep in her soul, waiting to grow, waiting to claim her. She went to bed that night, her heart racing, her mind spinning. She told herself it was nothing, just a foolish mistake, a moment of weakness. She tried to laugh it off, to push it away, to forget the way the shadows moved, the way the air turned cold, the way her own reflection seemed to judge her. But deep down, she knew. She felt it, a small ache, not in her body, but in her soul. It was faint at first, like a whisper, in the dark, easy to ignore, easy to dismiss. But whispers grow, my child. Whispers turn into screams. Days passed, and the ache grew heavier. It wasn't pain, not yet. It was something deeper, guilt, fear, regret, all tangled together like thorns in her heart. She couldn't sleep. Her dreams were filled with shadows that moved too slowly, too deliberately, watching her from the edges of her mind. She saw your face in those dreams, my child, not accusing, but watching, your eyes full of a light she couldn't reach, she couldn't eat. Food tasted wrong, like ash in her mouth, like it didn't belong in her body. The world felt distant, like she was seeing it through a veil, like she was walking through a life that wasn't hers anymore. She tried to go back to her routine, to pretend nothing had happened. She smiled at her friends, answered their questions with half-truths, went through the motions of her day. She laughed when they laughed, nodded when they spoke, but it was all a mask. The weight followed her. It sat on her chest when she woke, walked beside her in the daylight, whispered to her in the dark. She started to notice things, small things at first, things she tried to ignore. The way the air felt colder when she was alone, the way her reflection in the mirror seemed to linger, as if it was watching her, waiting for something. The way her shadow didn't always move the way it should, as if it had a mind of its own. She told herself it was nothing, just her imagination playing tricks, just stress from a life that felt too heavy, just exhaustion from sleepless nights. But she knew better. She'd opened a door, my child, a door that doesn't close easily. And something had walked through. Something that didn't belong in this world. Something that had seen her and marked her. One night, she woke up, gasping, her chest tight, her skin burning like it was on fire. She stumbled to the bathroom, splashed cold water on her face, and looked in the mirror. For a moment, she didn't recognize herself. Her eyes were heavy, not with sleep, but with a story she didn't want to read. They were hollow, like they'd seen too much, like they carried a truth she couldn't face. She tried to pray, but the words felt empty, like they were falling into a void, like they couldn't reach the one she needed. She tried to call for help, but her voice was stuck, trapped behind a wall she couldn't break. The ache in her soul had grown into something alive, something that clung to her, followed her, haunted her. It wasn't just guilt anymore. It wasn't just fear. It was a presence, a weight that wrapped around her like a chain, tightening with every breath. She couldn't run from it. She couldn't hide from it, because what she'd called wasn't just a force. It was a judgment, a reckoning for the choices she'd made. She went to doctors, my child. She sat in cold, sterile rooms, answered their questions with a voice that trembled. Let them take her blood, scan her body, search for answers. They looked at charts, whispered to each other, shook their heads in confusion. They found nothing, no sickness, no injury, no reason for the way she felt. Her heart was beating, her lungs were clear, her body was whole, but she knew it wasn't her body that was breaking. It was her spirit, crumbling under the weight of what she'd done. They gave her medicine, told her to rest, told her it was stress, told her it was in her head. But medicine can't heal a soul. Rest can't lift a curse. She tried to tell them, tried to explain the night, the ritual, the shadows, but the words sounded foolish, even to her. How do you tell someone you're haunted? How do you explain a weight no one else can see, a pain no machine can measure? And so, she stopped trying. She stopped talking. She stopped fighting. The pain grew, sharp and unrelenting, until it consumed her. It wasn't just in her soul anymore. It was in her body. Her breath grew short. Her limbs grew heavy. Her strength faded like a candle burning out. She collapsed one day, right there in her room, the cracked mirror watching her fall, the scarf and pictures still on the floor where she'd dropped them. Her family found her, rushed her to the hospital, and now she lies in that ICU bed, surrounded by machines, trapped in a body that won't respond, a mind that won't rest. The doctors crowd around her, their voices low, their faces tired. They run tests, check monitors, search for answers that don't come. They find nothing. They don't know why her body is failing, why her heart is unsteady, why her breath is weak. They whisper theories, rare diseases, unknown conditions, medical mysteries. They try treatments, adjust machines, pray for miracles, but nothing works. Because what she's fighting isn't in her blood, isn't in her bones. It's in her soul, a wound no doctor can see, no medicine can heal. And yet, my child, her mind is still alive. Trapped in that silent, frozen body, it's screaming for relief, for release, for a way out. She hears the beeping of the machines, steady and cold, like a heartbeat that isn't hers. She hears the murmurs of the doctors, their words blending into a hum of confusion. She hears her family's tears, their whispered prayers, their voices breaking as they beg her to hold on. But what she's screaming for isn't medicine. It's not a syringe or a pill or a surgery. It's mercy. It's grace. It's the antidote to the darkness she invited in, the darkness that now holds her captive. She thinks of you, my child. In her quiet, trapped mind, your name echoes, not with anger anymore, but with regret. She sees your face, your light, the protection that surrounded you when she tried to harm you. She sees the moment she lifted your picture, the moment the shadows turned on her, the moment her plan fell apart. She knows now that she was wrong, that her jealousy was a lie, that her pain was her own creation. But knowing doesn't free her, knowing doesn't heal her. And you, my child, you're still here, untouched, unharmed, protected. Because when she tried to curse you, when she tried to dim your light, it couldn't reach you. It turned back on her, like a wave crashing against a rock, like a fire burning its own kindling. Your name is sealed, your spirit is shielded, your life is covered by a love that no darkness can break, no force can shatter. But this isn't the end, my child. There's more to this story, more to see, more to understand. Her fight isn't just hers, it's a mirror for you, a lesson, a truth you need to hear. Let's go deeper, because her story is a warning, a reminder, a call to rise above. After that night, the weight in her soul didn't just stay, it spread, like a shadow that grew with every passing day. She saw things, my child, things that weren't there, things that shouldn't be. A shadow in the corner of her room that moved when it shouldn't. A whisper in the silence that carried her name, low and cold, like a warning. A touch on her shoulder when she was alone, icy and sharp, like a hand that wasn't human. She tried to fight it. She went back to that room, to the candle that wouldn't light, to the mirror that stayed cracked. She stood there, staring at her broken reflection, searching for a way to undo what she'd done. She tore through her things, looking for that book, those words, anything that could free her from the weight, from the shadows, from the ache that wouldn't leave. But the book was gone, my child, not misplaced, not hidden, gone, like it had never existed, like it had been erased from the world. She sought out others, people who claimed to know the unseen, who spoke of spirits and rituals and ancient ways. She found them in quiet corners, in dimly lit rooms, in places where the air felt heavy with secrets. They listened to her story, their faces pale, their voices low, their eyes wide with something like fear. They told her she'd crossed a line, that she'd called something she couldn't send back, that she'd opened a door that couldn't be closed. They burned herbs that filled the air with bitter smoke, gave her charms that felt cold in her hands, spoke words that sounded like prayers but carried no peace. But nothing worked. The weight stayed, the shadows stayed, the ache grew, sharper, deeper, more relentless. One night, she dreamed of you, not as you are now, but as you were in that photograph she'd taken, standing in a field, the sun bright behind you, your smile soft and unshaken. You didn't speak, but you looked at her, and your eyes carried a truth she couldn't face. They weren't angry, weren't accusing. They were kind, my child, full of a grace she didn't deserve, a light she couldn't touch. That kindness broke her more than any judgment could, more than any pain she'd felt. It showed her what she'd lost, what she'd thrown away in her jealousy, what she'd destroyed in herself. She woke up sobbing, her face wet with tears she didn't know she'd cried. For the first time, she saw it clearly. This wasn't about you. It was about her choices, her bitterness, her refusal to let go of the pain that had poisoned her. She'd thought you were the problem, that your light was her darkness, that your joy was her loss. But you were never the problem, my child. You were the mirror, showing her what she could have been if she'd chosen differently. If she'd chosen forgiveness over resentment, healing over hurt, light over darkness. And that's when the real pain began. Not just in her soul, but in her body. The ache she'd felt, that quiet whisper in her heart, became a fire. It burned through her, sharp and unrelenting, stealing her breath, her strength, her will. She tried to fight it, tried to hold on, but it was too much. Her hands shook, her legs gave out, her heart raced like it was trying to escape. She collapsed one day, right there in her room, the cracked mirror watching her fall, the scarf and picture still on the floor, untouched, as if they were waiting for her to see them, to understand. Her family found her, their voices frantic, their hands trembling as they called for help. They rushed her to the hospital, where the machines took over, where the doctors crowded around, where the beeping became her world. And now, she lies in that ICU bed, trapped in a body that won't move, a mind that won't rest, a soul that's screaming for release. The doctors don't understand, my child. They see a woman fading, but they don't see why. They check her vitals, adjust the machines, whisper theories that lead nowhere. They talk of rare conditions, of tests that might explain, of treatments that might save her. But they find nothing, because what's killing her isn't in her body. It's in her spirit. A wound she inflicted, a darkness she invited, a judgment she can't escape. And yet, her mind is still alive, still fighting, still screaming. She hears the beeping, steady and cold, like a clock counting down. She hears the doctors, their voices a blur of confusion and fear. She hears her family, their tears falling like rain, their prayers rising like smoke. She wants to tell them, wants to explain, wants to beg for forgiveness, but her voice is gone, her body is still, her strength is fading. All she can do is think, and in her thoughts, she sees you. Your name echoes in her mind, not with jealousy now, but with regret. She sees your light, your strength, the protection that surrounded you when she tried to harm you. She sees the moment she lifted your picture, the moment the shadows turned on her, the moment her world changed. She knows now that she was wrong, that her pain was her own, that her choices led her here. But knowing doesn't free her. Knowing doesn't heal her. Knowing only makes the weight heavier, the darkness deeper, the ache sharper. And you, my child, you're still here, untouched, unharmed, protected. Because when she tried to curse you, when she tried to dim your light, it couldn't reach you. It turned back on her, like a wave crashing against a rock, like a fire burning its own kindling. Your name is sealed, your spirit is shielded, Your life is covered by a love that no darkness can break, no force can shatter, no pain can touch. But this isn't the end, my child. Her story isn't just a warning. It's a mirror, a lesson, a call to rise above. It's a reminder of the power of your choices, the strength of your heart, the protection that surrounds you. And it's a question: what will you do with this truth? You have a choice, my child. You can walk away, let her carry the weight of her choices, let her fight her battle alone in that sterile bed, surrounded by machines and shadows. You can let her lie there, haunted by her own mistakes, trapped by the darkness she invited. Or you can pray for her. You can ask for mercy, for healing, for a way out, not because she deserves it, but because you're bigger than her pain, stronger than her jealousy, brighter than her darkness. You don't have to. You're not to blame. There is something important underneath everything you are expressing here, but it is not external forces shaping your life or hidden battles deciding your outcome. What is actually present is something far more human and far more grounded: your capacity to respond differently now than you did before. That is where real change lives, not in being, quote, chosen or, quote, protected, but in learning, adapting, and gradually building a steadier relationship with yourself and your experiences. You did not consciously choose every difficulty you have faced, and you also do not need to frame those experiences as part of some larger hidden design in order for them to have meaning. What gives them meaning is what you do with them now, the way you interpret what happened, the way you treat yourself moving forward, the way you stop repeating patterns that drained you and start choosing patterns that support your stability. There is a very real shift that happens when a person stops living in emotional survival mode. It doesn't feel dramatic at first. It feels quiet, almost unfamiliar. You begin to notice that you are not as reactive as you used to be. Situations that once pulled you into overthinking or emotional intensity start to feel more manageable. You pause more. You reflect instead of immediately reacting. That is not external protection. It is internal regulation, developing over time. Part of what you are being invited into now is responsibility in a healthy sense, not a burdensome one. Responsibility for how you treat your own mind. Responsibility for what you accept into your emotional space. Responsibility for noticing when something is consistent and safe versus when something is unstable but emotionally stimulating. That awareness alone changes the direction of your life more than any belief about fate or destiny ever could. There is also something important to understand about pain and difficulty. They are not evidence that you are being tested by external forces or singled out by life. They are part of being human. Everyone goes through periods where things feel heavy, unclear, or overwhelming. The difference is not in whether those moments happen, but in how you learn to move through them. Over time, you develop resilience, not as a dramatic transformation, but as a quiet strengthening of your ability to stay present without being consumed by every emotion. You may notice that when you stop interpreting every challenge as something meaningful in a symbolic or external sense, you actually gain more clarity. You begin to see situations for what they are. Some things are simply misalignment. Some things are timing issues. Some things are emotional incompatibility. Some things are just part of learning boundaries and self-respect. Not everything has a hidden meaning. Sometimes the meaning is simply, this is not working for me, and I am allowed to step away from it. A large part of emotional maturity is learning that you do not need to turn every experience into something bigger than it is in order for it to matter. Your experiences already matter because they affected you. You do not need to elevate them into something mystical or external to validate their impact. What matters more is how you integrate them into your understanding of yourself. There is also a shift happening in how you relate to hope. Earlier stages of emotional intensity often rely on waiting, imagining, or interpreting signs. But grounded emotional awareness moves differently. It pays attention to behavior over interpretation. It looks at consistency over potential. It values what is actually happening more than what might happen. This shift is subtle, but it is powerful because it brings you back into the present moment instead of keeping you emotionally tied to uncertainty. From that place, you begin to make decisions differently. Not from urgency, not from fear of missing out, not from emotional highs or lows, but from clarity. You start noticing what feels steady versus what feels unpredictable, and slowly you learn to trust yourself more than the emotional pull of any situation. It is also important to recognize that peace does not come from believing that nothing bad will ever happen again. That is not realistic, and it is not necessary for stability. Peace comes from knowing that if challenges arise, you will not abandon yourself in the process of dealing with them. You will slow down, you will assess, you will respond instead of react. That is real strength, not the absence of difficulty, but the presence of self-trust in the middle of it. When you begin to live from that place, your relationships also begin to shift. You stop overextending yourself in situations that are not reciprocal. You stop interpreting inconsistency as something you need to fix. You stop trying to carry emotional dynamics alone. Instead, you look for mutuality, effort that is shown, not just spoken, presence that is consistent, not occasional, respect that is demonstrated through action, not assumed through feeling. And yes, some connections naturally fade when you begin to operate this way, not because something is wrong with you, and not because of punishment or external interference, but because clarity removes what cannot sustain itself. What remains is what is aligned with your current level of self-awareness and emotional needs. That can feel like loss at first, but often it is simply recalibration. There is also a quieter truth that becomes more visible over time. You do not need to be constantly, quote-unquote, fighting your way through life to be moving forward. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to experience stability without anticipating disruption. You are allowed to have moments where nothing is wrong and nothing needs to be analyzed. That is not stagnation, that is regulation. As you continue moving through this phase of life, one of the most important skills you will strengthen is discernment. Not everything deserves your emotional energy. Not every feeling requires action. Not every thought requires interpretation. Sometimes, the healthiest response is simply awareness without escalation. And as that skill develops, something shifts internally. Your mind becomes less crowded. Your emotional reactions become less intense. Your sense of self becomes less dependent on external validation or interpretation. You start to feel more anchored within yourself, even when life around you is imperfect or uncertain. That is what real stability looks like. Not perfection, not constant positivity, but the ability to remain connected to yourself regardless of external circumstances. So the focus is not on being protected from life, but on becoming capable within it. Not on believing that nothing will go wrong, but on knowing that you can respond to what does. Not on external guarantees, but on internal grounding. And from that place, you do not need to rush, force, or overinterpret your path. You simply continue, one decision at a time, based on what is clear, what is consistent, and what genuinely supports your well-being.